Welcome back to Twin Humanities, where we're going to talk about Bloodborne. We're going to talk about lots of things. We had an adventure, and we had some Bloodborne, and then we had some more Bloodborne, and there's lots of things that are happening, and I can't speak because we're back. And it feels so good. It feels so good, and Bloodborne is here, but Mr. Patrick.
Hello.
Roll the music, please.
Boosh.
So we went on a little. Did you hiccup?
No, I'm giggling.
I thought you'd hiccup. I thought there was going to be like interspersed with like these little bursts of hip hop as we were going along. So that would be bad. Right. So we got invited to a thing. They kept calling us Alternate Reality Matt LeBlanc and Alternate Reality Eric Stoltz and asking us how bad our paper rounds must have been. But we've cut those bits out. We went to Sony last Thursday to take a look at Bloodborne.
Yeah, we did. It was basically like Lapland for me.
It certainly was. And I mean, we were both double excited for the game, but you had a little extra grist in your mill, sir.
Right? I know. If you cut me, I bleed squares and triangles.
Mm-hmm.
And it was quite cool seeing one of those limited edition anniversary PS4s in the flesh.
But we are getting ahead of ourselves.
Let's
start at the very beginning.
Okay.
Right. Particularly in light of what's happened of late, an adventure was more than needed. So we booked buses, and the Satsuma Sentinel and I made plans to hit the big smoke. So I was up first, hence I go first, and I caught the bus first. So
is that the rules? Whoever wakes up gets to speak.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
fine. That's cool. Yeah.
So I was up at 4:00 in the morning. I'd organised sort of quite a bit the night before, but never underestimate my need for the medicinal effects of coffee to restart my system, like some kind of glorious glitter-based, taste-laced Lazarus pit. Blah blah blah. I left the house at 6 a.m. The bus launched at 6:25ish. We had a bus driver that was like something out of a particularly nice British sitcom. He was called Gerald, and he was double interested in everybody getting on the bus. Tubby.
Is he literally from On the Buses? He sounds like an On the Buses character.
Was awesome. You know when you meet people and you just think that if you were invented for a film or a show, people would go, well, that's hamming it up a bit. But he was ace. He was kind of like this National Express branded Santa. He was just like, all right, me duck. Yeah, where you going? Going to London today. You got your ticket. Oh, it's on a bit of paper, is it? Oh, you got your mobile. Right. So what are you doing down in London? And he was just like really kind of bubbly and bright. And I was like, this is ace. This is like if I was writing this as a pure journey, this would be the sort of person that would greet me, the storyteller to take me on my way. So I was like, oh, this is cool. There was part of me that was just beaming at this point. And even beyond having that first coffee, sort of I wasn't really sure that facial expressions still worked. But yeah, he was lovely. So I got on the bus. I got a breakfast sandwich scored from Boots for the way down. I listened to lots of the Gerard Way album, which is a good job as well, because I sort of turned things off at a stop in Leicester, and the fellow behind was snoring like a giant wasp was playing Fuzzbox bass in his arse cavity. It was really, really bizarre. And at first I was like, that's not a human being.
Could you replicate this noise?
I will try.
Okay.
He was kind of going. I might need a few goes at this.
Okay, go.
I moistened my lips for it. He was kind of going like. And I was like, what? And if, the bus wasn't moving at this point, but it was really, really strange.
It sounds like a slightly pissed off dog in a box.
I didn't want to kind of put my headphones back on too soon, because I just kind of I like the music going along with the journey. Mm-hmm. Which sounds like I really should be like a member of Journey or something. How we run. But yeah, it was really, really bizarre. But strangely, at the point that I turned round, he woke up.
Oh.
And my turnaround was silent.
Because you're known for your quiet turnarounds. Like.
Yeah, I wasn't doing that. I'm turning around, move out. I didn't do that. But yeah, that was really strange. So I don't know if this was just, maybe he was sort of electronically allergic to Leicester, or there was some sort of radiation in Leicester that he was subconsciously picking up. But it was very, very bizarre. So I planned to fall asleep on the way down and kind of do like I did with Dark Souls 2 and just sort of wake up and see the big, bright, sort of towering spires of London. But I got really into the music and really like seeing the day rise and start to bloom a little, and then sort of familiar sights blended into the new, and the onset of massive buildings and the imaginary land of London clipped into view.
It's not real, is it, London?
It's not, but
it's a pretend place.
We had some sort of strange moments which just felt like we were in a film anyway. But
yeah,
how did your wake up go? What time were you getting up?
I got up somewhere around 6, which is not great but copable. I barely slept a wink the night before. Like I think I may have actually woken up in a cold sweat at about 2:30.
What, excited or just
excited, but like really, really sweaty? And I thought, Am I getting the flu? Like, because that happened to me when I got the flu once. You wake up in really uncomfortable in the night, just like dripping wet. And I'm like, oh God, do not have the flu.
My sympathies and condolences to your wife, sir.
Yeah. But no, I managed to go back to sleep and rally my perspiration glands and shut them off nicely and woke up dry as a bone, which was nice. Toddled on down to my place. I had to leave at about 6:30, got there for 7, and then the bus was due to arrive at 7:30, actually arrived at 8:20, and I was panicking the entire time thinking, oh God, have I missed it? Please don't, because the train station's only kind of 2 minutes walk, but I thought I've paid the equivalent of £7 for this, so I'm getting on this bus.
You see, that's the reason why whilst I'm about 10-12 minutes away from the bus station, that's why I have to set off dead on 6 o'clock, because I do get the panics as to...
Yeah, you don't want to miss it. And,
no.
It's like the one time the bus runs early.
Thankfully, I had Gerald.
You did? Well, my driver was... he was okay, but no interesting stories, unfortunately.
Not Gerald. Very few drivers are, to be fair.
No, very few. Ride was uneventful. I think I listened to an old episode of The Recycle Bin on the way up,
okay.
In fact.
Hashtag on brand.
Yeah, on brand. We'll get to that later. It was the Joe Scrabbles episode, and it was very entertaining on the way up.
I like Joe.
Good job, team. My ride up was very, very uneventful. I ate a co-op sandwich, was my choice.
There are people tuning in for this going like, what do they think of Bloodborne? It's like, I had a sandwich from Co-op.
It was a cheese and ham on brown.
Oh, okay. Not as good as mine then.
Along with a small snack pack of Millionaire shortbread.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I was traveloguing. It was great.
I thought you lived in Portsmouth, not 1941.
We're a bit backwards down there. We keep to the old ways.
Well, we did get on the old bus, and I wondered if the rations would stretch, but here I am.
Your bus driver was called Gerald. You can't give me shit about this.
So Gerald was awesome. You're just fucking jealous.
We rolled in and we were text chatting on the Twin Humanities account and drip feeding bits like, oh, Ginger Fox en route. And your animal that I didn't get, which explain to the people about your animal code name.
I can't think. It was Brew
Civet or something, or Civet.
Brew Civet, yeah. It was basically the cat-like animal that eats coffee cherries and poos them out, and they make it. they turn it into Luwak coffee, which is one of the most expensive coffees in the universe.
See, you're all learning about coffee again.
Yes,
we managed to get it in there.
People do ask about that.
They
side
do,
of things,
though,
and I do like that. So I was coming in on time, but you were doing a little bit late.
Yeah, a bit
whereas you were going to hit about getting about 25 minutes before I did. We more or less got in at the same time, didn't we?
I was only sitting down in that smelly back room for about 10 minutes. I got in 2 games of 3s on my phone, and they take about 5 minutes each. Mm-hmm. So that's how I approximate time now, is how many games of 3s I can play.
So we had hellos and hugs, and we went to the Starbucks near to the bus station.
Of course we did.
Yeah, of course we did. There was me, on brand, fancying a cinnamon latte, 4 shots of Peru, but no cinnamon, so I had caramel instead. Piping hot, bursting with sugar, delicious depth, and milky woo, alchemical majesty. And what did you have?
I had tea.
He had tea. Moving on. So, lots of chat about games. I was uber nerding about Dying Light. A few tickles and predictions of the day to come between the two of us, but we didn't really quite know what to expect, did we?
I didn't know what to expect either. To add an air of mystery to the day, I don't know what to expect.
So
you sublimed the bus journey with only trivial brain damage.
I know. Who would have thought that thing was possible?
Come on, blood.
Right, so we were bloody excited, really. Ha ha!
And we decided to we got out my phone and we worked out a route.
No, at first we were like, well, we could go on the tube, but that's kind of quite scary for bumpkins.
Does the tube make you scared? Because the tube makes me... I don't like the tube. It's very high energy. You find everyone's rushing around. You're thinking, am I in the right identical white tunnel here? I don't know. It's too stressful for me. I don't like it.
I only really remember sort of last year when I came down, and thankfully I missed the rush hour, but still there were lots of people sort of busying in very tight tunnels, and when you don't know where you're going around that, there are lots of tuts.
Yeah. If you're not hurrying along like you've got to be somewhere really important, like a meeting. Like if you don't have a meeting to go to, then you are a problem in the eyes of the London traveller.
So yeah, we instead we plotted out a fancy old walk which led us around Buckingham Palace.
We got it quite wrong though, didn't we?
Well,
we just sort of kept wandering off slightly, and I look at my phone. Nope, actually, we're going completely the wrong way.
It doesn't really matter though, because we were having a good old natter and a good old catch up, and
we saw a statue of a big bloke stuck in the floor.
Well, before that, what did your good lady wife say about your navigational skills?
She didn't say they were great.
Was that the case?
They were okay.
No, it was not, sir. Your navigational skills were rather marvellous.
They were all right. They were okay. If my phone map had been updating in real time, we would have been even better.
Because the thing was, I mean, it said on the phone that it would take us 40 minutes to walk there. And I'm sure it took us around about an hour. And considering there were sort of a few sort of little fits and starts where we thankfully hadn't walked too far in one direction. I reckon
it felt wrong, didn't it?
We did all right.
We walked, and like the internal compass goes, nah, this isn't right.
But it didn't really matter because it seemed a little bit surreal, and we were having a good old natter up in the reel, and that was kind of cool.
And we had allowed at least an hour on top of how long we thought it would take us. Time.
We got a fair amount of time, so we saw lots of tourists. It was the first time I'd seen a selfie stick in the reel. I'd imagine them to be some kind of half-assed, handcrafted wooden sticks, like almost sort of giant lollipop sticks, or but we saw actual metal things. Metal.
It's like a monopod, but you hold it up in the air instead of planting it firmly upon the floor.
I'd genuinely not seen any in the wild before, and it was bizarre. So,
but it kind of made walking past them all a bit of a game, because it's like you sort of walk. It's like the Crystal Maze. There's all these poles in the way. You've got to kind of duck and weave and roll around them.
It was all a bit surreal, sort of. Anyway, I mean, we
especially when we got to Buck House.
Yeah, I mean, when we sort of curving round the Queen's Lair, music started playing, and it felt like it was for us.
It was for us.
That somehow London was very, very excited for Twin Humanities visiting. People continued to gaze at human microphones, and we presumed them being very, very polite not to look at us. As we imagined titling like a sort of 80s TV show, sort of a Dallas or a Dynasty, because it was like a. I'm going to use sort of the Dallas theme tune here, but it was like a. And it was like we were being soundtracked. It was fantastic. And
I wanted to kind of turn around at some point and just kind of look at the camera and have my name appear just floating just in front of me.
I didn't quite catch what was going on. If it was just changing the guard or trooping the colour or
what it was is just some men with big fuzzy hats were just having a walk. And then apparently that is an attraction.
Yeah, but eventually we sort of followed a group of them that were sort of doing like a and we started going like Twin Humanities coming back with a brand new series, and we started singing that as they almost slightly unrelated sort of drum beat was going on. It was like a dun, 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 we're moving on down, and we just made the best of it until we were too far back.
Yeah.
So yeah, we had a damn good wonder within that and a good laugh until we came to like a group of people that we couldn't get past.
Yeah, they'd all stopped, hadn't they, to watch the men with the microphone hats kind of stand still for a short while.
And there was a man that made Gerald look like he was depressed, who was holding a machine gun.
Yeah.
What's that about?
He's got a machine gun.
But he was deliriously happy. I don't know if
you're going to be gunned down, you want to be gunned down with a smile.
I don't know if they just sort of if they were running through sort of people before they chose him, and it was just like, well, my name's Brian, and I take this job very seriously. Protecting the Queen in London is really important to me, and you know I'm a big patriot. It's like and you sir? Well, my name's Gary, and I was brought up in Yorkshire, but my dad fought in 2 world wars, and you know I love England. I love it. I wear a Union Jack t-shirt when I go to Spain, and I always have chips abroad. But I love England. And then they cut to like the bloke that we actually saw. He's just like, yeah, yeah, right, you'll do.
They gave me a gun.
What's this about? I'll hug it close.
I like that Call of Duty. It's awesome.
So yeah, that was a bit bizarre, but yeah, we soon found sort of Oxford Street, and then we found Sony.
We did a rather sort of quite sedate building. Really, it doesn't look very like amazing from the outside, does it? There's only really like there was a Bloodborne poster on the wall, and there we go. 18 minutes in, and we've just mentioned Bloodborne for the first time.
I think you were underselling this, like because there were doors. And then there was a massive thing that was taller and wider than the doors that had Bloodborne on it. And then on the other side of it, there was kind of a Sony logo.
I mean, from a distance, like you wouldn't know it from a distance. I mean, up close, obviously, but you know, like from a distance, like where is it? Where it was there? Is that it? Is that it? And because I'd looked on Google Maps the night before, I was able to ascertain that yes, this was the building we needed. It was cool. Because we stood outside for a little while and just looked through the windows.
We did, and I was taken again by our outfits. So I was in sort of coffee-coloured boots, Japanese dark blue denim jeans, and a dark soul sweatshirt, on brand, mocked by Ginger for being too nerdy. What were you wearing, Patrick?
Some light brown trousers, a green nice normal jumper, and my slightly leathery kind of looking bomber jacket type thing.
Indiana Jones at a Caramac convention.
And shoes, obviously, with my my bright blue Gamescom laces.
Yeah,
so Indiana Jones on brand.
Indiana Jones at a Caramac convention. so we turned up as quite the odd couple. But yeah,
an hour early.
Yeah, we had a little way to go. So, but thankfully we found a second Starbucks just around the corner. which was strangely eerie to be in. Sort of our coffee shop is rammed come lunchtime. Sort of lots of folks chatting away, folks on computers, tons of folks huddled around big tables and chairs, and and the big sofa ones that go shmunch when you sit into them. And like London, it was like there were lots of single round tables going down the left-hand side, and then behind us, loads of single tables, and it was like one person at a table, one person at a table, one person at a table, one person at a table. A strangely good-looking man who was really, really going for it with his little finger, like picking his nose. I don't know what he was finding. He was like proper hench, good-looking, stubbly bearded, wearing fine and expensive check shirt man. But I hadn't seen somebody go at their noses like that since like my dad in a traffic jam when I was little.
He'd actually lost his keys up there. I went back and asked him later, and he was trying to excavate them because otherwise he wasn't able to get in his car and go home.
I think he was searching for Narnia or something, but it was bizarre. But we were the only people that were talking in that coffee shop.
Yeah, it was deadly silent, wasn't it?
Really bizarre. But we settled on sort of fruit juice and sarnies this time, and a pact that we were not going to lig on drinks and goodies. That if we're there, we're bloody well playing games.
Yeah, I didn't come here to eat. I came here to beat the game. I should have thought of that ahead of time. Carry on.
God, what an embarrassment.
We can work on that.
Anyway, we quaffed food down and we went in. So we got up to a grey PS1, gave her name the desk.
Whoa, that grey PS1. Oh my giddy
It is really nice, isn't it?
Oh my, it is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. As soon as I saw it, I started planning how I would steal it. Because it's gorgeous. And they've got like in the window as well, like the setup of all the different consoles they've released out. So there was a PS1, there was a PS2, a Vita, there was a PSP Go on there as well. They had all these sort of consoles all listed up as well, which was kind of like quite nice to see. Yeah, like all in kind of like date order. No Pocket Station. I did look. There was no Pocket Station. But you can't win them all, can you?
No.
But yeah, they had this big wall of TVs that were showing Knack when we went in, which was brilliant. They're really trying hard with Knack.
So yeah, we gave our names at the desk, and I was looking for sort of us, and there were just two badges with Twin Humanities on there, and we were both like,
she's like, oh, what are your names? Went that's us there.
That's us. That's it. So yeah, we sat down and we were greeted by Sarah, who chatted with us about the games, the journey down, and presented us with NDAs to sign.
Right.
And informed us that there was a good chance we'd be leaving with code. What? What's that about? What?
It's right, and that's how you want to start. That's how you want to meet somebody.
So yeah, it's gone somewhere else at that point, and we were like. And we were kind of sneaking looks at each other like ZOMFG, but trying to be sort of, I don't know.
Trying to be a bit cool and not be just like the complete rubes that we are.
Yeah, trying to pretend we were the big boys when really we were kind of all smiles and trampolines at this point. So yeah, but the NDA didn't just sort of cover the game; it covered everything that was in the presentation that we went into. Hence, there's a 5 a.m. Tuesday deadline for the NDA, which is when I will be getting up to post this. So I am going to be posting this first thing tomorrow morning.
And if you're listening to this now, probably at this point 20 past 5 in the morning, good on ya.
Yeah, well played.
Well played.
Oh, are you talking to me or are you talking to the audience?
Audience? No, sod you. You get to talk it. You'll listen to it. I mean, the audience get up at 5.
They may be in other places in the world. It may be like 5 o'clock for them, and they're just like, there's that much anticipated new episode of Twin Humanities that I can just press play relaxingly and listen to.
Well, correct, but no, I must give kudos to the people that are getting up far beyond their normal waking hours.
Do you think anybody's doing that?
You are.
Mm-hmm. Right. So yeah, this the presentation. So we were given some more details about the game. The room itself was sort of covered on all the outskirts of the room were covered with pods with Bloodborne on.
Yep.
There were loads of chairs in the centre, and there was a presentation
Don't forget the Gothic candelabras everywhere.
Yeah, which you wanted in your house.
And oh my god, I want to steal them and put them in my house, like in our spare room. That would be cool. There were like candelabras and kind of weird metal things everywhere, kind of covered with ivy. As well, on the back wall of that room, it's like just like a padded black wall. You think, oh, there's some lines on that, and you look a bit harder, and it's like massive PlayStation square, triangle, circle symbols.
And there were doors in it.
Oh my god, it was beautiful.
For older listeners, kind of like a dark PlayStation version of Think of a Number with Johnny Ball. That'll go down well with our world audience that isn't old.
Send us a tweet if you get that.
Yeah, thanks.
Because I don't.
So yeah, we got a good bit of detailing by Jun Yoshino.
Yep.
About the game before being given the first glimpse of a Chalice dungeon. We were informed that a number of ingredients can go into the design of the dungeon. That 5 or so combinations can be saved to headstones, and codes mean that you can share any designs you have with friends, or you can sort of keep them behind. I presume replace one of the headstones with something that you want to keep going through.
Because like my personal worry was you'd only be able to have like one at a time, and then you'd have to re-roll it. But the fact you can save them and come back to them later with your mates is brilliant.
I didn't realise that that there were kind of sample ingredients that went into the creation of them. My presumption beforehand was that you just went into the Chalice dungeon, it automatically kind of rolled the level off. But I like the degree of, I don't know.
Yeah. And obviously, by the way, just to reinforce before we get in, we're not going to be talking too heavily about details today because we want you to find those yourself. We're just going to be talking like little mechanical things, aren't we? We're gonna respect your ears, so don't worry. There will be no spoils completely.
But well, I am going to talk about this Chalice dungeon.
Yes,
because it's one of about 800 million. That's a lie. So
it's not a lie though. So
yeah, dude. We asked about the boss monster that we saw, if that was an appearance from the main game that was just, one of the randomly generated things in the Chalice dungeon, but apparently it was exclusive. The boss was exclusive to the Chalice dungeons, and I presume there are more than that.
Yep.
It was a huge hulking thing, sort of all upturned scythe blades strapped to each hand, hunched hump back, sort of covered in candles, and it gave a bit of an echo of Grant Morrison's Candleman from his Doom Patrol run.
Also, it was aggressive as shit.
It was terrifying, and I was watching on and kind of going like, sort of biting my lip a little bit. But honestly, I have no idea how I'd face off against that thing, because those scythes, rather than sort of going straight ahead or sweeping, they were kind of swooping up, weren't they? They were like a big upward scoop,
backwards as well.
Yeah. So,
but John that was playing at the time couldn't beat it, so he demonstrated that you can actually properly share play it as well. So you can pass a virtual controller to a pal over the internet, and the virtual pal was able to beat it.
Yeah,
my son.
We don't know who this virtual someone was.
Probably someone next door, wasn't it?
I don't know. I part of me just imagined that we were going to get like a wave from Mr. Miyazaki or something, or someone from From, but they didn't announce who was
Kojima. Did you like it? Yes, I did.
So yeah, that looked pretty cool, and it was stuff that.
And we also found out that there's two kinds of Chalice dungeon, isn't there? There is.
Go on.
There is a set dungeon where it will give you the same thing every time. And then there is a random one where it will give you a random one every time, which is brilliant. Because you can save a few as well. Like you can save, I think it's 5 of them.
Yeah, you can save them to the headstones that I mentioned.
He said, voice going up in tone.
But you've got codes for each of the ones that you create anyway, so you can.
We don't know how the codes work yet. We didn't see any of that working, but I assume you can just sort of send a Twitter to your friend and say, right, my dungeon is blood, saw blood. I'm guessing as to what the icons will be. It might just be a number. I don't know.
I presume it's just giving them the code for it in their world, but I don't know if you can automatically bring somebody in to fight in a Chalice dungeon, or if they've got to have the same dungeon.
No, I think you can just give them you can search by code, and it will let you jump into that one with them.
Yeah, so we don't quite know the specifics of that one yet, but
it's still mysterious, but becoming clearer as time goes on.
So then we had a chat with From Software. So it was
damn right we did.
It was gone midnight in Japan, and we had a link to Masaki Yamagawa from From's offices,
who's the producer of Bloodborne.
Indeed. Various questions were put to him, including one of mine.
Yeah, boy. And I was quite upset because it was the exact question I was thinking of as well.
But
so well done, you.
So I asked him about environmental storytelling, and if there was a similar sort of thing to Dark Souls in Bloodborne, in the same way as Ceaseless Discharge only attacks when you take his sister's clothes, and the Ballad of the Undead Dragon on the side of the cliff, and if there was a particular favourite in Bloodborne in that regard. And as a second sort of twist on that, if there would be characters in the game of the ilk of a Solaire or an Artorias. There was only so much he could say without spoilers, but they were interested. They were polite about it. Mr. Yamagawa even missed his last train home. So.
Did. No, I think the official answer to your question was, I can't say anything yet, but kind of smiley faced.
They were lovely. They were saying that sort of thing was really important to them, and that it is something that Mr. Miyazaki is really, really focused upon within his detailing. So, and also note that I was standing in front of him in an Oscar Pistorius Estes Flash shirt. Yeah, mate.
Hello.
What are all these guys wearing? Regular clothes. Mm-hmm. For better or for worse? For better. So then we went on to the challenge. We were informed that everyone in the room had 30 minutes with the game, and the idea was to get as many blood echoes, the souls from.
So you had to start from the very beginning and go.
Within 30 minutes. You had 5 minutes with a character creator beforehand, where you essentially created some kind of John Lennon version of yourself.
I did.
Whoa. That even walked like you.
It did. There are some things in the character creator that I'm not going to say anything about because I think you'll all enjoy finding them yourself, as I did. There are some things and there's some stuff. That's all I'm going to say. Mm-hmm. But I made a reasonably good facsimile of myself.
There is pictorial evidence of this. So
and at least 2 separate people that we don't know took pictures of my guy when I was finished.
This is true.
Yeah.
And I think I got the geekiest of them, so I will post that up on Twitter tomorrow with the when the podcast.
But John from Sony, actually, he also came over and complimented me on how good it looked, and I was like, thank you very much. Yes.
And it had a good template to work.
Laughing. Yeah, I was like, it had a very good template to work from, and then he laughed at me. I told him that whoever designed the character creator, they're not getting paid enough. They need more money. Pay them more. You'll all see. Gotta give you some credit. Because we went in the second batch, didn't we? So we hung around for a bit and just chatted to Sarah from Sony for quite a while, didn't we?
We did.
Who was brilliant. Who's a really, really cool person. So when you go to these press events, you expect people to be, all business and, hey, look at our branding, and we really hope you can social media push all of this stuff. But it wasn't like that at all. She was really nice, really warm. Actually, wanted to chat to us. It was great. Felt really welcome. Don't know what you felt, but it was.
Yeah,
really nice.
I kind of thought that she might wander off to other folks quite quickly and have to sort of spread around the rooms, but she had a proper sort of natter with us. She was cool. But talk about your game when you got on there.
Okay, so I got on my game. We sat down next to each other, made our characters and laughed at each other. Both picked exactly the same weapons as well, which was pretty cool.
We did.
Without looking. Whoops.
Without going into specifics, it was a weapon that wasn't in the choices for the alpha, and is a weapon that I've never seen in a game before, but I did take into my game when I got home.
Also, I have done that too. It is the most amazing thing I've ever seen. It's incredible.
It's incredible.
So yeah, we set our guys up, and I know because I'd spent quite a bit of time with the alpha, so I knew what was going on. I'd got a bit of time with it. I knew roughly what I was doing, whereas you went a little slower, didn't you? I managed to find a place where I've never even been before, and just ran around panicking the entire time, but not dying somehow. I was managing it, and again, I'm trying to keep this as vague as possible. There are a couple of moments that give you like throwback moments that, oh, we're doing this again, oh crap, this sucked last time, I'm gonna die. Oh, I did it. Oh, I've got no health, but I did it. Really kind of cool place, like the fear was there, my old favourite, the fear. And I realised as we finished, literally on the button of 30 minutes, finished up, I realised very shortly afterwards that I had a whole bunch of the soul of a lost undead type item. That I could have popped, and I could have come second in the complete competition, but I didn't know I had them, and I was fucked off by that.
Yeah, thanks.
Could have been
that.
Great.
You could have been a champion for the podcast, and people would know our names. But that,
I could have been silver, but no.
Yeah.
So yeah, I had a lot of. I pounded through an area I'd not been to before. I know you were taking a bit more time with it, weren't you? But savouring it.
Well, I don't even know about that. I mean, whereas many people had sort of played the alpha and stuff, I'd had one go at a game lock-in where I got battered by Chunky Monkey with an axe. So I hadn't particularly bedded in or got a proper feel for Bloodborne before this.
But it's okay to get battered by the Chunky Monkey because he ain't no joke.
No, I'd heard he was a bit of a tough lad, and I've sort of had a bee in my bonnet about ending him ever since, and the point where I actually did was quite a prestigious moment for me.
Right.
Yeah. It didn't happen in this situation. I think I had another go at him and got... With that in mind, like, right, round 2, oh, I'm dead. And so, but, yeah, I had fun. I loved the weapon I was using, but I was kind of tentative. I mean, my hide behind a fire door shield strategy of Dark Souls quickly morphed into jumping around instead of knowing when to take colossal leaps back, judging the enemy's various attacks, their quirks, their weapons, and trying to adapt accordingly. I wouldn't say I quite got it then, but within the malaise of that, I was excited at trying to figure all this sort of stuff out in the immediate, and I was just hooked as hell. So yeah, I was double buzzing about it, and whilst I think the guy on your pod before you got about 5,000 blood echoes, and I'm sure I got up to near 2,000 before I died, and then lost that. So I was doing all right, but I didn't. I'd hoped, but I didn't think I'd get near that, which is sad, because the prizes because the top 3 were then going to be taken away to fight out for a top prize, which included a signed Miyazaki Steelbook edition, which was
really nice,
and the Nightmare edition box. So
not the contents, just the box. The second place, they got custom PS4 skins, I think, that you can't buy.
Yeah, and there was a T-shirt and collector's editions and all that kind of guff. But if we're your favourite Dark Souls podcast, we didn't get near any of that.
No.
And the one person who could have gotten quite near that didn't.
I didn't know, because they're called... it's called something completely different and innocuous, and then when you realise what the item actually does, you're like, oh, that's that.
Isn't it something like blood...
Oh, Cold Blood, I think.
Cold Blood, that's it, yeah.
Chill, something like that, yeah. It's not like... there's... See, this is cool, because it actually highlights a cool point, that there are items that do similar things to what happens in a Souls game in there, but they ain't called what you think they're called.
Yeah, but it has to be said, in your non-defence, that... when you look at it's Cold Blood Echoes, that's it.
Cold Blood Doom.
That's it. And when you look at them in the menu, it goes like pop to achieve more echoes or something like that. So you can't really.
But I wasn't focusing on that. I was focusing on get kill as fast as can.
Who was looking in the inventory at that point?
That's true.
No, not us.
Yeah, we were eyes on the prizo.
So after that we got led into the cafeteria, which had been turned into a graveyard,
which was awesome.
There were 5 different cages and loads of keys, and inside the cages there were Bloodborne PS4 skins, art books, more signed goodies,
T-shirts,
all that kind of goodness. But no joy for Twin Humanities.
Yeah, we tried, we failed. We had the wrong keys, but we kept the keys though.
Yeah. We've got an extra key, and that was still no good. So we saw one chap with a very tall bobble hat tucking into these Bloodborne cakes like a cheeky schoolboy. You took one and went back to a table and took 10. And I looked over, and you suddenly got black icing and black cake coating your teeth, your lips, and your inner mouth.
It's a very black cake.
I went back for a regular one and got told off by the lady behind the counter, just like, they're not ready yet. I look back at you, smiling over at me with your dirty coal miner's mouth, and I'm getting told off.
Yeah, so, I then stuffed it in my mouth as fast as possible.
So, but no drinks or stuff. We went back into the room to pick up where we left our characters, and let's face it, we were the only people that did that.
There are a few people jumped and sat down on the pods in the cafeteria, but I think
that was the people that were challenging for that top prize. But which was a bit bizarre, really.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like they're not as crazy as we are.
But
not to disparage other people. I'm sure they were there for they were excited to be there as well. But it's like, should we just carry on? Let's carry on.
I think a few folks were kind of doing their own press pieces and stuff outside, But yeah, we went back into the room to pick up where we left our characters. We got interviewed by a very nice man with a beard for, I think it was PlayStation Access.
I hope it was PlayStation Access.
And later got told off twice by him when we were nerding out with Sarah about the game and got a bit too loud. And I was trying to record, and it shouldn't have happened once, really. Yeah. Never mind twice, but
I actually had to stifle a scream at one point. Because I knew that was recorded. I was like, oh!
The thing is, he said sort of, do you mind keeping it down because we're recording?
Because it's the quiet room, isn't it?
We kind of knew he was recording, but we were chatting about, I got this bit, I've got this bit, and I kind of got lost in those 2 times of going sort of, and then there's this, and I can't believe this is happening. And to that gentleman, I would apologise profusely. But say that the intentions behind the nerd out were completely good.
Sorry, nice beard man. We were overstimulated.
He was a really nice man, and I am very sorry. But yeah. So we had a wander around because it was a massive party at that point. And
by the time we came back out, like 1,000 people had turned up. Like, whoa.
I presume a lot of the people that worked upstairs had come downstairs, and there were chips. And I think there were, I noticed a massive like gong of chips, and people were sort of tucking in, and but I believe Wobbly Pop was involved. But we kind of
why would you eat when you could have played Bloodborne though? Like,
well, we'd gone back in and we'd played at that point, and we had to sort of run for the bus.
Yeah, so, about 6. It's like we need to go, don't we?
Yeah. So we said goodbye to John and thanked him. We looked to try and find Sarah to say hello, because Sarah Morfitt was just amazing. We've said it once, we've said it twice, but she was genuinely lovely lady. And so once that happened, we said goodbye and had a wander back to the bus. You were double on point with directions. The city looked frankly bloody beautiful that late at night.
It was nice, wasn't it? It was pleasant. It wasn't quite the kind of the massive hustle and bustle it was earlier. It was kind of, well, there bits of it were.
Also, it didn't seem super dark.
No, I mean,
really,
admittedly,
really nice and really spacey, and
some of that was Piccadilly Square being lit up by the giant wall of light.
Yeah, but
that was nice though. Yeah.
It was just nice to kind of wander back and nerd out on the various aspects of the day, and
hunt for a Tesco.
Well, yeah, I do hunt for a Tesco to put stuff in bags and to grab food for the journey back. But it was nice to have a little recap of the day. And as mentioned at the start of the podcast, after the stuff that sort of dogged the last month. Personally, it was nice to be out of my comfort zone in a strange place with good people. Really losing myself to my favourite escape and my favourite series and stuff. It was great to see you again and everything had just it genuinely took me out of myself quite a lot. And I know that when I did get back to work afterwards, I've been a good degree more relaxed and happier, and just I don't know. It's had a real salve. So I'm chuffed
good.
about that.
I'm really chuffed for you. But because I've had the opposite thing. I've gone back to work and I've been insufferable. I've been utterly insufferable. How was it? It was amazing.
So we before we got back to the bus station, we went back to the original Starbucks near Victoria Bus Station.
What did you have to drink?
I had a maple macchiato with Peruvian coffee again, and you had
tea.
At this point, I'd been up since 4 a.m. and was starting to flag.
Yeah.
Verbosity intersected with life support, and as much as I love you, I needed the bus seat.
We were getting a bit lucid, weren't we?
Yeah, and there was a point where I tried to figure out my bus and where it was going, and you confused me, and I literally my brain was just babbling at that point.
Well, yeah, I think like mine was bus number 3 from stop 16, and yours was bus number 4 from stop 4. It was confused. The numbers were similar.
440 at 16, and you were like, yours is 16 from number 4, and I was like, well, what? And
then we turned around and just walked straight back and had a check, and
this podcast's over. Leave me alone. So, but the weird thing was, like, when I got to the bus, rather than Gerald, there was quite a larger than life guy, but he was quite a big boned gent, shall we say? But he was struggling to breathe. Like he was just like, and the bus has been running all day, and he hasn't really had time to stop for gas. So I know it can get quite warm in here, but the air conditioning can take a lot of the petrol. So and then he sort of disappeared for a bit, and he came back and he was like, I checked the valves and I cleared the valves. So if it does get too stuffy, like tell me and I'll open the skylight. And at this point, and at various points on the journey back, I kind of wondered what would happen if he passed away with us belting like a bullet down the motorway. There were various points where I kind of felt quite unsettled and was just thinking, if he died now, how long would it take us to stop? And I genuinely put my seat... I know that it's a legal requirement and all that sort of stuff, but that's the point where I put my seatbelt on. I honestly didn't know if I was having some sort of premonition or something. But it was really quite disconcerting. It was...
Do you think
bizarre.
you've been breathing through the exhaust pipe?
I honestly don't know.
That's how you check the engine, it tastes alright.
Alright, Gladys, you're my favourite bus. Oh, that exhaust.
That's vintage, that.
Dirty bitch. So I got in about 12:30 a.m. I had toast. I'd set an alarm for 6 a.m. the next morning. And 3:30 was the point where I could run home and fire up Bloodborne.
Yeah, so we should probably mention the little package we got, which we glossed over, didn't we? The way in which our code was presented to us, which was, I've got to say, the classiest way I've ever seen. On the way out, lovely Sarah gave us our little package, and it was like we were expecting to get like a disc or something, weren't we? Like, just here's a little bag with a disc in it. What we actually got was a collection of books, strapped up in like a sort of like a 1940s sort of leather book strap that you'd imagine a young kid would wrap their school books in and sort of wing over their shoulder. It even had spaces in the back to put like pens in as well, which was a nice little touch. And they're like, oh, it's in here, and you're like, where? These are just books. So on the trip home, I opened mine up. I sat on the coach. First one's a lovely little art book, full of things that made absolutely no sense on the bus. Like, that looks awful. that looks like it's going to murder me. Oh, that looks horrifying. As you do when you see horrible concept art out of context. There was also a really nice, leather-bound or leatherish sort of moleskin notebook with Bloodborne printed on the bottom, which is my new favourite thing. And then this huge, great fat book at the bottom. And I was like, is that the strategy guide? Is that a book? And you open up the book, and the entire inside has been carved out, and the game was inside. Oh! As a man who has always wanted somewhere to hide a sneaky flask of gin, that's amazing.
So if anybody's curious about that, I believe Finn Gamer, who I think was the person that was asking about resolutions and multiplayer
arena,
competitive arenas
like
behind us and stuff. In the meeting, the Finn Gamer's got an unboxing of that, I believe. So if you're curious about that, go and have a yawp. But we'll insert a little bit of a break here, so we'll put a little bit of music in, and then we'll tell you about Bloodborne. So, Bloodborne then, spoiler free as much as possible. We're going to talk mechanics, surprises, moments. We want people to experience this as much as possible for themselves. But we can do little flickers of comparison between Demon's Dark and Dark Souls 2.
The vaguest of previews we shall attempt.
Yeah, so for me, I took a fair while feeling my way into the game. Again, taking risks, being cautious, experimenting between the different modes of the weapon of choice. Getting used to luring things out, instances where I was confident, where I had the fear, familiarity, bravado, dying a fair bit, but proper loving it. And there was, there's a point in games where you just think sod this. Like, I was leaping back in, and the point where I did kind of go, I'll leave this for a bit, I was back, really quickly.
Yeah.
It was quite astonishing. So the first few days had me testing the game as best as I could. Probably not after sort of a number of early shifts and the early start for the adventure. I probably wasn't on my A game, I guess, at the start. But I didn't really have a lot of time to dive in earlier. But it took until sort of Sunday evening to really start uber putting time in and clicking with it. Feet found sort of most definitely firmly. I started making progress. Most of the progress lost was down to my own delicious stupidity, stroke bravado.
As is always the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as much as my mind was telling me, right, do it like this, I was having way too much fun to listen. And there were just points where it was like, well, don't go down there. You could go down there instead, and you could try this. And remember that guy got you last time? And part of me was just like, yeah, just heading sort of straight on. And there were those points where I'd figured out sort of certain enemies, and I hadn't. And there were points where I found new stuff and was suddenly terrified and tentative again. But all the time I was making progress. And the parts where I did start to understand things a little more, I began playing things a little bit differently just to see what I could get away with. And there were some things that I did and some things that didn't work. But I was really enjoying that there was no one straight path and one right way of doing things. It was, and there was even sort of certain instances where, say, there was an enemy that I knew I could get with this way of doing the weapon, or but sometimes I get caught with the enemy rushing at me or doing a an attack that I wasn't expected, and that might push me into a certain portion of the background or the scenery that I couldn't get out of. And there were so many times where I swore repeatedly, or was going like, run, 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 run. As if that was...
The soundtrack to my game has been much the same. It's been very much a case of, oh, no, fuck.
I've had loads of that, even today. And shouting at things. I've shouted at many things. Usually jeering at it when I killed it. But yeah, it's really good. I'm currently doing the sensible thing. The game has sort of chucked me something very, very tasty to tempt me away from doing that. And there's still a certain someone I really feel like an ice that I haven't previously. And a couple of enemies who have sort of tickle-clapped the hell out of me time and time again, who are flat out asking for it. But every time I'm like, right, I'm going to do you. But I've maybe got about kind of a few thousand blood echoes at this point. Like, nah, it'll be fine. It'll be fine this time. This time it will be... Oh, I'm dead. Particularly sort of, I'd say, you probably know the enemy that I'm going to say, but you can't pick one away from the other. They both come at you at the same time, and whilst I can take out one of them, the other one was voracious at getting near.
Oh, see, there are ways of dealing with it, but the situation is what I mean.
Yeah,
the situation. There are ways and means of dealing with that situation, and I've developed a rather efficient strategy now.
We've not been talking amongst ourselves with regards to this.
No.
There's been no degree of, how are you getting on with this? And what have you done? And where are you up to? Because we don't want to spoil it for each other. So all of that just sounds like desperately vague. I'm really sorry, but we want to keep this fresh for you as well. And the next show we'll kind of dive into a few more specifics when everybody's played at least the first level to a certain point.
Yeah, so if you consider we fought a thing, it was really hard, a spoiler, then we're really sorry, because that's all you're getting today.
So, yeah, how did you get on?
Once
you were at home?
Speedily, once I got going. I logged it on Friday night once I got home from work. I had friends coming round later at like 8 o'clock to play board games with us.
Shocking.
Friends. I know, right? Social lives. Of all the weeks to have a friggin' social life.
Get out, friends.
Although saying that, we did play a rather excellent VHS-based Star Trek game where you're trying to take back the Enterprise from a rogue Klingon who's taken over the ship, and you all have to wear communicator badges, and if he shouts at you, you have to respond, "Yes, Captain Kavok," or other players can take cards away from you because you're endangering the crew. It's legit brilliant. And I'm glad they came round now. If slightly resentful that I hadn't played 2 hours more Bloodborne that night, but it was worth it because it was fun. Anyway, so I pumped the PS4 on, obviously got it installed in like 2 minutes, which I was worried about. I thought, oh god, please don't let this be a 4-hour install. I don't think I could take it. Made my character, looked at it, spent about 20 minutes or so building my guy, realised I'd built the face a bit wrong, wiped it, started again.
Were you trying to do a facsimile of the person that you created at the event?
Yes, I was, and I'd kind of made it. I thought I'd made it right. I thought I'd tweaked it in a way that was made it better, but it actually made it worse. And only realised that literally in the first room when your character kind of gets up in the very first room. You're like, I've done that wrong. So back to the drawing board and straight back to the exact same build I had from the exact same guy I had from the preview event. And yeah, I've battled through it really quickly. Like I found that I was really rollicking through that very first level and discovering shortcuts and things that I'd never found before. I mean, for those of you that have played the alpha or played any of the level, there's a real sort of, it's not a straight line. There's the levels are not just like go over there and do a thing. The paths cut back on themselves. There's little shortcuts in the way that the best Dark Souls and Demon Souls levels did. Shortcuts bloody everywhere if you start looking for them, and you think, oh god, this bit is a bit of a slog. You know, I'm running out of health, blood vials, health potions as I'm going through. I'm never going to manage it. And then oh wait, hang on, there's a door here. What's through? I'm here. I will never have to go there again.
It's got. I know you like talking about the fear.
Yeah.
But there is certainly a degree of Demon Souls like. Can I get back, or should I press forward?
Oh,
and
God,
where the hell is a marker that I can get on?
Yeah.
And I didn't find that marker for quite some time.
They are thinner than you'd think. But yeah, I found I was generally I found that I wasn't caring about my souls on the floor. I thought I can always get more. Like, it's not a big deal. If I kind of stress about every time I drop 1,000 souls on the floor. Sorry, blood echoes, not souls. This is going to take a long time to get over that. I'm gonna lose my mind a little bit. So I just ignored them and just focused on, just getting through. And if I found that I was having a real problem with a way, I'd just give up and try a different way and just abandon those souls to the ether. And yeah, I actually made quite a lot of progress that way, like by not getting too attached upon death. Because when you wake back, there's no such thing as hollow or soul form in this. You just come back as a regular human again. Which sort of takes away some of that worry of, oh god, my health's got worse, or that sort of thing. You're going at it at full strength every time. The only real difficulties I've had are when I've run out of health potions, because they're finite and limited, and they don't refresh when you go back to a checkpoint. You have to basically go and get more by being a cool guy and not getting hit so much, which is harder than you would think. I have found myself returning to the early areas just to run around a bit and just, harvest a few blood vials, the health packs, just because it's the easiest way to do it and results in me not wanting to kick myself. I don't know how you found that. Have you found that the blood vials have been limited yet, or have you found you've generally had enough?
I've had more than enough. I've found that there were points where I thought I was saving them and trying to be cautious, and I realised that after a little way after 20 that they don't.
Just 20.
You don't go above 20. So
yeah, and any you pick up are gone forever.
Yeah, so I was making sure that my health was topped up, and if anything, I was going into most fights with things with a full amount of health, so I had no reason to hate the game or the way it was delivering. If there's anything that I kind of found that because you get the same amount of bullets for either the shotgun or the blunderbuss, that I wasn't using that enough, and there was a certain point where the game was stopping me getting more, and if anything, that was pushing me on to kind of go, I really should be using this a bit more.
Yeah.
And at that point, I started, through experimentation, getting a few more results, and it's a great piece of design to coerce you into using something that you otherwise might not normally use.
Because really, it's the gun in the hand is really it's the parry, isn't it? It's all about the parry this time. And as someone who likes to parry in Souls games, like, I'm not good at it, but this felt I was able to slip into it quite easily. I mean, I know you've always hidden behind a massive fire door. Have you found you've slipped into the parrying or the shotgun part of it easily, or has it been tricky for you?
I wouldn't say tricky. It's been ignored for the most part. I've been jumping around. I've been monitoring my distance from the enemy, seeing. This is something that I really love about the game, and was a bugbear of mine with Dark Souls and Dark Souls 2, is the fact that in Demon Souls you had to be careful of which weapon you used depending on the surroundings that you were in, because you could catch the weapon on a wall or a door, or sometimes you might be on a staircase with a handrail, and hence you couldn't really chop, but you might be able to stab forward. And whereas Dark Souls and Dark Souls 2 have more or less sort of allowed the swing and allowed you to hit an enemy, Demon Souls and now Bloodborne stops you from doing that, and I love that.
Yeah.
I love that you have to consider not only the enemy but the environment, and if the enemy perhaps pushes you to somewhere in the environment that you're not comfortable with, that you may need to react on the fly as to how to get out of that. I love that to pieces, because as much as you feel that you can suss an enemy out and you can go, right, I can do this on this enemy and it hates it, there will always be surprises, and there's enough about those enemies that they could do something different or attack in a different way, or the AI might move in a different way. They might not come for you in the same place, or they might run around to a different entrance, even in an area that you've been to a number of times before. I found myself constantly on my toes, and even places where I'm confident in, there's often been moments where I've gone, nope, 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 nope.
Hold down on the analog stick and bang circle.
No, I'd say that mostly I've really been in control of what I've been doing, but I think thus far it's kind of almost made me a better gamer with regards to the way that I'm tackling the game, because I was so defensive in the games that came before, and in this one I really am reacting on the fly. And now I'm a little at the point that I'm at now, and I'm a little stronger and I'm a little more confident. I find myself, whereas I was trying to lure out baddies, I'm now running and trying to take them by surprise or pull a good chunk of them towards me. And that's to say there's the same place in the game, and that I'm playing it wildly differently, even within the course of a day, is amazing.
Yeah,
and I'm sure you're playing it in a different way to the way that I am. So
yeah,
that's
I've
really
been
cool.
learning. I've been learning recently. Again, like, it's not a defensive game. There was an interview on Kotaku with, I think it was Kez McDonald, and it was basically the thrust of it was that, you know, Dark Souls is a game about dying, Bloodborne is a game about killing, and it really rewards your aggression. And it's, admittedly, you have to focus that aggression. You can't just run in flailing your death stick at people. You will die. You will die. But if you are too cautious, you know, I tentatively, I've been into a couple of the later areas than you have now, and I've found myself quite scared and quite tentative, and that's when it all seems to go wrong. The times when I, you know, nut up, as it were, you know, gird my loins and have a real go at it, that's when you start doing well, and that's when the parrying mechanic with the shotgun, that's when that becomes fantastic, because you've got these big, scary things that will utterly tear you apart if you try and take them on toe-to-toe. If you can knock off a successful parry, that one hit, you're done. You can move on with your life, and it changes how you look at things. You think, well, I can run up there, and if he does the overhand, I can go kapoom when his hand's at the top, get rid of him, and then move on to the next guy, and he won't be able to kill me. Whereas if you ran in just having to sort of hack them down chop by chop, then there's more likely you get overwhelmed and die. So aggression and bravado seem to be rewarded in much greater, you know, quantities than they would be in a regular Dark or Demon Souls game, and that's brilliant.
I will disagree with you on a huge amount of that.
What? How?
I will find that on say Demon's Dark or Dark Souls 2, whereas a defensive game, or should we say a strategic game, might be hiding behind your shield, and then waiting for places where you can attack. I think that game is there, that there is a strategic game to Bloodborne, but what would be shield based and just holding that shield up, I think, is trying to hit an enemy from distance, trying to maneuver them perhaps around scenery, of trying to jump and get better angles and know when to jump around the character. Because there's been points where I've maybe gone full whack and gone in with and used most of my stamina to try and get repeated hits in. But there's been others where I've gone the kind of slowly catchy monkey approach, whereby it'd be like, right, I can get a hit in on him now, and then if I do 2 dodges, I'm around him, or if I get 2 dodges, I'm back, or if I can lure him into doing that, I can then strike and then pull back. And the defensive strategies the defensive approach that I'd normally have in the previous games are there. They're just mainlined differently. And for me, that level of all-in bravado isn't there as much as me becoming really strategic and not being able to hide behind anything particularly, but having to... It's distance and knowing an enemy's attack patterns and when to jump in and when to not, and being patient more than anything. It's kind of funny how we've got these different strategies, but I will think that will work really well when we co-op.
Oh God, yeah. I mean,
because
we're
both going to be taking different runs on it.
Yeah, I mean, the absence of shields, I think, is what forces the different run, isn't it? As well, like you're not allowed. You know what I mean. You're not kind of able to do the standard first run of hide behind a door, are you? Like you have to face it. You have to get up in it, and however way you face it, you're far more open. You're far more exposed than you ever have been. Which is probably why I've become a lot more aggressive in what I'm doing. Still having moments where I'm panting it and going, nope, running away, going back to that tomorrow, nope, screw that. But it does, I don't know, I found that since I've embracing the rage, I think I'm doing better.
But again, I think this bodes really well for when we co-op, because it'll mean that you will probably be in the midst of the fight and distracting whomever in a big way. I'm probably going to be thinking strategically and nipping in when it's distracted and chopping in and then trying to pull it away, and then you can go in sort of full force. So it's interesting that the game's pitched as a faster, more aggressive game. We've both got different strategies to it, and whereas you thought that the defensive side of things wasn't there, but I'm finding that it is.
I would say it's not defensive, it's probably more evasive, would you say?
No, I wouldn't say that. I'd say it's still an angle on the strategic aspect, and it is knowing when to strike and knowing when to pull away. So
thankfully the stamina bar, the amount of staminas that rolls and dodges take is not very much, so you can whiz about as well. Like, you're not roll, you're dead.
Yeah, so I'm loving the combat. I really am loving the combat. But,
yeah. What about the world so far? Because I've pushed on quite a bit further than you have. I'm at about 9 hours in now, I think, the last time I checked. There was one point where I counted this. I butted my head against 5 different directions at once. Like, every single direction I was going felt like a normal path you would take, but they were all really, really hard. Like, so for example, in Dark Souls 1, when you go down towards the skeletons by accident, and you can kind of beat them, but not really. Blooders has that. But it's the right way to go. And it can throw some real, like, some levels that there was an area that felt quite safe and felt like I was doing alright with it. And then massive curveball. Again, I'm not going to say a goddamn word about what it is. Huge curveball right in the middle, and utterly caught me off my guard. Completely and utterly caught me off my guard. And it took me 2 hours before I was willing to go back there. Because how would you? No, I just can't.
I mean, obviously, I'm not as far in as you are, because I am the more defensive gamer maybe, but also it took me a while to get over those early starts and for my week off to begin. But I'm finding the world really similar to Demon's Souls, to be honest. And that Demon's Souls is my favourite game ever, so I can't really complain about that. I like the distance between between the points where I can return to the Hunter stream. I love the return of that real risk and reward of, am I too far in? How can I get back? And especially when don't know, there've been surprises where it's like, oh, I'm back here, and that it's not, I'm not as far gone as I thought I was, but because the levels not only sort of go around but go down, and I don't know, I just find that there's a stupendous piece of design in there, but I'm getting a real Demon's Souls vibe, and it's the sequel to Demon's Souls that I didn't realise I wanted, but I'm really, really happy about it. Honestly, I can't stop playing it.
So also as well, for those of you that enjoy ladders, prepare yourself, because the world is much more vertical. In the same way that Dark Souls 1 was quite vertical, that you could see up and down, and you could see places to go from places you were. Like you can do that again. Boy, howdy, are there ladders! There are some snake eater ladders right there, and they are brilliant. They are universally brilliant because they're also pretty. They're also pretty. It's the little things like the ladders that are catching my eye in the world. It lets you take a moment and survey the whole area beneath you, because these levels do spread quite a bit, and there are hints about where you should go, but they're quite twisty turny, and you can really sort of take a moment and have a look around and think, right, okay, well I was over there and there's a roof there. Could I jump on that? Let's have a go. 9 times out of 10 you can. Yeah, the world for me is it's every area. Like, I was initially quite worried upon seeing preview videos. It was all going to be spooky gothic town, which is fine. But I was like, 40 hours of spooky gothic town could probably get a bit old.
Yeah, but it
there is very it changed. There is
it showed you that though, from the initial GIFs that were released.
Of course,
so,
yeah. But yeah, like I was initially a little bit worried. But yeah, there are some things to see. And yeah, I'm not going to tell you what they are. Again, this is the Vegas show we've ever done. Not going to tell you what they are, but I'm going to tell you that they are brilliant.
Patrick, I love you, but you must shush. You must shush for our listeners, because I asked on Twitter for folks to say, I don't know, their expectations for Bloodborne, if they were going in cold, or if they've been devouring all the information, which version they were getting, as to whether they were getting the Nightmare Edition in EU, or the Collector's Edition, or going digital, or there are even folks from lands such as Blighty and Australia who are getting the American version after having got an American account, and because it unlocks at midnight tonight.
Something
it does.
Like that.
It unlocks at midnight. So the first person to get back to us was Brad Galloway from Game Critics.
Okay.
The gallant Brad Galloway, who said, "I'm looking forward to co-oping it with my wife. Not nervous in the least. From knows what they're doing, and they'll deliver. Have avoided 99% of the pre-release info, going into it as cold as possible, apart from trying a demo last year." Ooh. So I will say on this point that I don't know of another game where so many people have shunned all forms of hype, where it's just like, right, this is Hidetaka Miyazaki. I don't want to know anything.
Yeah. More than Souls 2, I think. There's been a lot more that I've seen. People go, nope, don't want to know anything.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't
even compared to Souls 2. Like,
I wouldn't say Souls 2 had it. I'd say people were pretty thirsty for information, and folks, everybody watched that first announcement on IGN, where we saw the previous lighting engine and all that sort of stuff, and I don't know. I wouldn't have said it was there at all with that, but as I mentioned sort of earlier on today as well, that we're so used to seeing games get revealed with CGI trailers of what the game might be like, and we don't see the actual game for 2 or more years after that, and maybe it's not even the same game, or things have been downturned. Let's not forget, we saw the first glimpses of Bloodborne in some rather sketchy GIFs that were then knitted together in the trailer when it was Project Beast. What, last July?
Something like that, yeah.
And the game hadn't been revealed yet. I remember watching was it Reddit or Gaff just go absolutely bonkers on the hype train.
Hype train left the station at the speed of light.
No, with people actually putting their avatars onto a hype train, and then reposting it. That was July. Then we got the announcement a little way after that, and here we are in March with the full game, and it works. Can we have some more of that, please, games industry? Because, like, frankly, the Ubisoft EA sort of, it's coming, or here's a CGI bit, and then you just don't see anything for forever. I'm honestly not asked about that. Show me it when it's nearly done. Thanks.
Here's what show me the money is what you're saying. Mm-hmm. Show me the money.
So the next message we got was from David Stuccio. Who said on email, so the day Bloodborne was officially announced during the E3 press conference. Was it E3? I think it was
named Bloodborne that time. It was either E3, it must have been E3 actually, I think it was. It was named Bloodborne then. It wasn't Project Beast, it was Bloodborne.
Yeah. I stopped watching straight away, grabbed my crutches as I was recovering from my third knee reconstruction, and drove against doctor's orders and bought a PS4. Blimmin' heck.
Bloody Christ.
This is the game I've been waiting for. I got hooked on Dark Souls 1 after originally rage quitting and gave up and said it wasn't for me. How wrong ways. I never thought I would be a gamer who would get hooked on a game that hid its story from the player and make you read and take time to truly understand what was going on in its world. After playing the game for so long, to find great people to talk about it and podcasts to listen to made the experience so much more. Destiny had been holding that same feeling for me with its story being hidden away and having to explore the world it has, but I can't wait for something new to experience. Bloodborne will hopefully be that game I'm craving for, providing me with the lore and the interaction with other people that Dark Souls 1 gave me. Whatever the game has in store for me and its players, I'm sure it will be great. So that's pretty cool. Let
me assure you, Stooch, there's some things and some stuff. You are not going to be disappointed.
So Martin Charlton said, I'm going in cold and I probably won't play the thing until Christmas.
What?
Oh man, if you're having to go in cold and not getting a chance to play for it for Christmas, good luck with that, Martin. I hope you play early, because I think Martin said that he said to his wife, don't let me buy a PS4 until Fallout 4's coming out, so it might be a little bit before that. But if when he does get his PS4, that it's Fallout 4 and Bloodborne as it are his opening titles, I reckon the boy done good. Yeah,
that's not a bad way to start, is it? But yeah, man, going cold turkey when everyone else is going warm turkey. I don't know where this is going. My heart feels for you.
I feel for you. So Alex at Alabaster Mage on Twitter said, I believe I have the Steelbook pre-ordered. Nightmare Edition, though sexy, is too rich for my blood.
Yeah, I can appreciate that as I've gone I went the same route. Obviously, I've now cancelled that pre-order because I don't need it anymore. But I was going to go the same route this time as well. Like I trying to save a bit of cash,
putting money aside for that for a long time. So that was one of those where I saw it on the horizon and then saw, because I am a bit of a Souls completionist and have a bit of a collection, but I saw that there's Taokuden Kiwami coming out this Friday. There's Dark Souls 2 next week, and yeah, I've been putting money aside for a good little while for those. So
yeah, well, I've put my money aside and I've turned that into buying the guidebook instead.
Okay.
Which is delayed, but coming out with an extra 120 pages. So okay, that's fine.
Fine with that.
Yep.
So Stella King Sai said, I once held the signature of Miyazaki penned in golden ink upon A5 and sold it for pieces of 8. True story. It was a prize, and well before I got into the series. Suffice to say, those types of things only happen once.
Oh,
that's harsh, man.
That's the original appearance of Superman kind of whoops. Oh.
So Hellkite, the YouTube Monster Hunter gentleman extraordinaire, said, "So is Bloodborne another Dark Souls?" I would say it leans more towards demons.
Yep.
But it's completely its own thing. There are similarities, but dear Lord, it's its own thing.
It's not your daddy's Souls game.
No.
No.
So Vade Van Odin said, I'm getting pretty excited, but same as Dave Stuccio. I have kept away from a lot of the information. So another someone that's shunning things. Says,
as a person myself, as Souls, and Miyazaki game podcasters, we kind of have to see some of it. So yeah, I've been trying to avoid as much as possible because like you say, we want to. I understand everyone wants to experience it fresh, and that's exactly right. But yeah, having to avoid it for so long. Yeah, but while still making our podcast relevant has been tough.
Even sort of, I know you didn't watch the opening IGN 18 minutes, which were more or less the alpha, but with the final build.
Yeah.
That was great for me because that was the point where I was like, they have dialed up the colours. Dear Lord, they have dialed up the colours. And even the boss battle that they showed with the kind of energy beast thing, it just excited me, but didn't particularly spoil anything for me. I just kind of looked at it and just went, how am I gonna? Oh, I'm excited.
Yeah, I would advise people watch short clips, but I wouldn't advocate watching any streams of it yet. I really wouldn't.
I think most of the people that are going to be watching the streams are folks that are undecided.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have thought anybody that I know would watch a stream of Bloodborne.
Yeah. So if you are undecided and you are watching it and you think, this could be kind of cool, just stop.
Also,
really.
Everybody is going to be streaming Bloodborne.
Of course they are.
Which is...
I don't know. Not sure if I approve or not.
Well, I know why they're doing it, and of course they've got an audience. The audience, a lot of the time, has watched them play Dark Souls and Dark Souls 2. Of course, they're going to stream Bloodborne, but for me, part of the joy of watching sort of Dark Souls and Dark Souls 2 streams are when I finished it and I like to see other people play the game and see the things that they do that better than me or different from me or that sort of stuff. And I'm not at a point with Bloodborne yet where I can say I've at least had a run through and seen what was there. So, but Vader goes on to say, I knew too much going into Dark Souls 2, so to have a nice feeling of excited anticipation for something unknown is cool.
Ooh.
So let me show what else we've got. Let me see.
Is that it? Are we done?
No, we're not done. I've got a whole Twitter feed to look through.
They're only short words.
Yeah, but this started on Friday.
Yeah.
And there are other conversations involved as well.
Ah, okay, right.
Because then I came back to it, and it's you can kind of try and cut these out and paste them into a document, but you're just there forever, and it just doesn't work out. Here we go.
Okay, continue,
right.
sir.
The Law Hunter said, I can feel excitement and tension building. It's electrifying. I have a normal copy due in today, but I have a collector's edition on pre-order that I'm debating about whether to cancel. Mostly if I can afford to have an early normal copy and the collector's edition. So...
Ooh. Interesting. And I know he's going to be really... Because for those of you who don't know, the Law Hunter is Sinawu, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
It's Sean W. Sinawu. Oh boy, Sinawu. Yeah. You're going to be hunting some goddamn law.
Right, Ben Naylor, the glittering, glamorous Ben Naylor, said, I wanted to go in cold, but whenever I see a link to a new info, I can't resist. I'll definitely be avoiding Twitch in the next few days. So when Dark Souls 2 was out, I was finishing the Artorias DLC. So this will be the first time I'm going fresh with the rest of the world, which is dead exciting. So there won't be much information written. I can't rely on online guides so easily. I mean, there's been points where I've been playing where I've actively acknowledged the fact that I don't want to type something into Google. That I'm happy to get things wrong. I'm happy to not know about things. I'm happy to be absolutely confounded and let the answer find me, which is really cool. So
yeah, the bit where you find out you've gone down the really hard path and done the boss you shouldn't be able to by sheer force of will alone.
The magnificent Tamor Hussain said when asking if going cold or if you've watched stuff, he put, "Cold, I am frozen, I need it to thaw." All in capital letters. Well played, good sir, well played. Rich Woodward, Woodfella15 on Twitter said he's going the US PSN route. Going in entirely cold. I know like 2 things, but I've been avoiding everything for ages. I'm excited. I'm sat staring at my TV, watching the clock tick down as we speak. Because a lot of people, it's already even those that have downloaded, that are getting it digitally from the UK on Friday, it's already downloaded to the PSN, which is crazy times.
And now there's just a tantalising clock just laughing at them.
Yeah, but Rich goes on to say, I don't think I've come to a game known this little since Demon Souls. I'll probably get a physical edition too and place it on a specially made pedestal. Indeed, might hop on it for a bit today. So, because I was asking if there were a few people as well that were going to, if they're getting it at midnight, if they were going to have a little bit of a kip before doing it. But Rich, in that respect, is talking about Demon Souls because he has been back on Demon Souls today, and I know that he shares a similar love with Demon Souls as I do. So Anthony Saunders, APFEID or APFEID on Twitter.
APFEID.
Yeah, well played.
Yeah,
said, I got an early copy in New York City this weekend and so far it's brilliant.
Hey.
Cameron Swarbrick, Knight_Twitten on Twitter said, I'm getting the collector's edition. I've been looking at stuff from first area but avoiding everything else. Look forward to it. So I think folks have got a little bit of a measure from looking at things, but you genuinely don't know until you start testing it out. The mechanics are that good.
In the words of Game of Thrones, you know nothing, Jon Snow.
Danny Books, Global Mega Dude on Twitter said, getting the Nightmare Edition on Friday, so I'm going to turn Twitter off for 3 days and go in cold.
That's very good. That's very clever.
The spectacular, the feather-ruffed James Carter says the game.
Wait, no, stop. What's his Twitter handle?
Iwatfadiwa.
There you go.
It said the game's installed and ready to go. If I could be more excited, I don't know how. He's going the USPSN route. Jason dis_Pierre has said, dude, I'm avoiding spoilers whilst running the Bloodborne game account, and that's been incredibly hard. I understand that yesterday as well, somebody tweeted the final boss at Sunlight Blade.
Why?
I don't know.
Oh.
Yeah, anyway. Jason King at Cooldawn said that his anticipation is significantly greater for Bloodborne because it's all new. He's looking forward to both the game and the story around it coming together. So there are people that maybe Dark Souls 2 might have been their first game, or they might not have picked that up particularly, and they started with Dark Souls and have then moved around the different games. And this may be, this will definitely be a number of folks' first time with a Souls game on the day of release, which is always the best thing. My first time with Dark Souls in particular, that first run, I had no idea what I was doing. In the great scheme of things, I was probably doing a million things wrong, but that was my best playthrough. absolutely my best playthrough. And honestly, some of the skill that I showed in that initial run through was crazy, because I didn't summon in that initial run through, and I think I've softened a bit in the playthroughs thereafter with like, oh yeah, I'll camp and put my sign down and build up shitloads of souls, or I'll bring somebody in for this boss battle, but I just didn't really do it. So yeah, but it is.
Well, I think there's a certain aspect of wanting to do it yourself, isn't there? Like, no, I'm going to do this. I'm going to try, and especially we're playing the game before the servers are up. Like, it's the only choice.
That's another thing as well. So we'll come back to that in a little while. Jason dis_pair goes on say that he picked up Dark Souls on a whim. He didn't know about. He picked up Demon Souls on a whim. He didn't know about Dark Souls until after release. He was super hyped and super let down for Dark Souls 2. Pretty hyped for Bloodborne though, and this time it's the big M at the helm, so I know it'll be good. That does appear to be a sign of quality.
Hell yeah.
So let me see if we've got some more. Yes, Justin Thompson, Dark_Londo, said the Walmart near me is 24 hours and selling the game at midnight. Nap after work until 11 tonight, and then it's on. Good man.
Good man. Great beard as well.
Speaking of wondrous beards, Chris Booth, Goseki1 on Twitter said, I will probably read every single review, particularly interested in any that are negative. So, because Matt Lee said at the time that Dark Souls 2 came out that perhaps there were a degree of reviewers that were coming into Dark Souls 2 who were fearful that such a passionate and close fan base would rebel against any reviews that said anything bad about the game, saying that they clearly don't get it. And the majority of the Dark Souls 2 was one of the best reviewed games of last year. It is a game I genuinely love, but I think that the public reaction to it was a pretty even split down the middle, from people that enjoyed it and people that were really disappointed by it, far more than the reviews.
Simply because it wasn't quite as good as Dark Souls 1 for some reasons. But for me, Dark Souls 1 is the better game, but 2 feels more like it was mine, because that's the one I got to experience with the fresh, with the no help, with the no online, on my own, powering through it, without having this safety blanket of the internet's done it already, just ask the internet if you get stuck. Because it's quite tantalising when you know that you can just type in where do I go in Hades Tower of Flame, and then you can find that, or you can look at a video of someone doing it and showing you all the cool stuff is. Whereas when it's your own, like you say, your first run of Demons and your first run of Dark, where you didn't know what you were doing and you're running around like a blind man, that's always the good run.
Well, on my second run on Dark Souls 2, that was on Dark Souls, that was the point where I'd started watching Epic Name Bro stuff, and he'd done little bits on lore, which made me really interested, because I'd loved the world, but I didn't realise that there was that kind of story underneath. But he was showing things like, one of the best weapons in the game is the club, and you can get that at the first merchant. And I never in a million years would have looked at a club and just gone, oh, that'd be great.
Whatever weapon, isn't it?
There's me sort of seeing a Black Knight greatsword drop being about 13 levels under leveled for it, and me grinding that opening area for seemingly forever to be able to wield it, and then just cracking through about 4 or 5 areas because I was super overpowered. But my gaming instincts would never have looked at a club and thought that a wooden stick was a decent weapon. So a lot of the people that surrounded the game at that point showed people the little intricacies, and that certainly furthered my enjoyment of the game from there. But I think that people are all too ready to they're paralysed at the thought of not playing a game properly or not making having decision
The
paralysis.
optimal choices and picking the best weapon.
You don't need to do that. Just kind of just go with your instincts. And I think that if there's anything that the internet has done in a negative way, is people have lost those instincts, and it's more fun when you haven't got a clue what you're doing a lot of the time.
And Blooders is going to go about making that better, because there are nowhere near as many weapons in it. I mean, because they've all got the little trick functionality to them where you can turn them from one thing to another thing, that naturally limits the amount of weapons you could feasibly make up in the game. And I think it will help reduce a lot of that, this sword is slightly better, and if you do this to it, it's a little bit worse, so use this version.
There were far too many weapons in Dark Souls 2.
Yeah, my pockets were brimming with metal. I could have forged my own Iron Throne out of all the swords I had.
Yeah. But with regards to the lack of criticism for Dark Souls 2, review-wise, compared to publicly, when the conversation went on, Chris Booth said, I'd hope any reviewers that might worry would have lost that fear after the somewhat fair criticisms aimed at Dark Souls 2. The fans are well aware of what works and what doesn't, and it only helps to call out issues. We don't need to be pandered to. I suppose it says more about the current state of gaming culture more than anything, which is a really interesting point. So, let me see. Here we go. Neo Garuda, our old friend NeoLoki55, said, I discovered Demon Souls a month after release. As an old man who played Dungeons and Dragons, it was the game I was waiting for, and I felt hard in love. Dark Souls 1 I read about 6 months before release and told everyone who would listen they had to play it. Day of excitement was high, but the game far exceeded my expectations. I was more excited about Dark Souls 2 than any of the others, but also I was playing Dark Souls religiously at that point. Fortunately, Dark Souls 2 just wasn't as good, but I still found things to love. I've watched a few people play Bloodborne on Twitch, and it far surpasses my expectations. So now I'm just counting the hours until 9 p.m. This one seems to have the potential to be glorious. Neo Loki's kind of looked at the Twitch streams, and it's kind of, rather than them being shunned and going cold, he's kind of watched a bit and has gone like, which is something that we haven't seen elsewhere, and that's entirely valid. So I think we are at the top now, and seeing people who think that I've lost my mind because I've been painting pictures of an old ITV Dick Turpin series, bits from Fraggle Rock, and the Wide Awake Club's Mallet's Mallet with Bloodborne things. And
wasn't there the dog from Fraggle Rock as well?
Yeah, that's what I said.
Oh, okay, I forgot.
I was going to put Falcor, but from Turn Around, Look at What You See, Never-ending story. Right. So the game launches now in the US. This will be tomorrow, but now in the US, it's Wednesday in Australia. I think Europe is Thursday.
Friday.
No, Europe is Thursday.
Right.
And it's Friday in the UK.
Oh, that's a proper Dark Souls moment.
So again, let us know your thoughts once you've got it on Twitter, and you can email us at twinhumanitiespodcast@gmail.com. Let us know your thoughts, and we'll follow those through in the next show, where we'll discuss the opening level in a bit more detail once folks have had time to experience the same things. Also, online launches March 24th. We haven't had chance to do any of that stuff yet.
Nope.
I mentioned to Pat that it was worth maybe restarting, but you said we could be overpowered and naughty, so we intend to be villains.
I have found the thing that lets you be villain.
No more words. Laugh. Goodbye, lovely lovelies. We are coming for you, and we'll see you soon.
We'll see you in hell.
Or on the internet again.
Yeah.
Bye. Bye.